We're about a month into the season, which means it's time to start looking at how players are doing. And shockingly, there have been a lot of really good players that have not had the greatest starts to the year. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you guys the 10 most disappointing players in Major League Baseball this season. It doesn't mean they're bad. It means that they're just playing poorly right now. And honestly, knowing about me and my jinx, you should be pumped that I included one of your team's stars in today's video, because it probably means they're going to turn it around. So again, I don't think these players are necessarily bad. They just are playing poorly right now. Also, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the best way to play fantasy sports. Whether it's daily drafts or using their pick'em feature, you have a variety of different ways to play and also win. Plus, when you use my code GNM when you sign up by clicking the link in the description, Underdog will match your first-time deposit up to $100 absolutely free. With the daily drafts, you get to draft your own team on Underdog every single day if you want. And my personal favorite, the pick'em feature, gives you a really fun way to watch sports. With the pick'em, you pick higher or lower based on a certain player's stat line for that game, and if you get all your picks right, you have a chance to win some money. Plus, Underdog does some really cool promos, like tonight, they're doing a payout booster, and as you can see, that Nikola Jokic line, that's the booster, which means they're giving a higher payout if you get all your picks correct by including one of those. So here are my picks. Click the link in the description and use promo code GNM when signing up on Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog will match your first-time deposit up to $100 absolutely free. Thank you to Underdog for sponsoring. Let's get back to the video. Let's unfortunately get it started off with Max Scherzer of the New York Mets. As a Mets fan, yeah, this one hurts a lot. Scherzer has just straight up not been good in 2023 after a 2022 season where he was relatively good. A 2.29 ERA in 145 innings. Yes, he didn't end the year strong, but overall, that was a great year for Scherzer. This year, though, has been a nightmare. Between the suspension, between injuries, and between poor performances, Max Scherzer has looked like a shell of himself this season. He's only made 5 starts, 22 2/3 innings, and he's been getting shelled. He's given up 6 home runs already. Last year, he gave up 13, a 5.56 ERA, a whip at 1.412, and a FIP at 6.32. This is by far the worst Max Scherzer has ever pitched in his career. We're talking career lows in strikeouts, career highs in walk rates. There's almost nothing going right for Max Scherzer, and to be honest, I don't know when it's going to turn around. The last time we saw Scherzer pitch, he was getting shelled by the Detroit Tigers, which is never a great thing. I really hope he can turn it around because the Mets desperately need him to in order to be successful this season, but it is not looking good for Scherzer. He has been a disappointment. Next up, let's go to the Houston Astros, who have had a little bit of a weird start to the year, but without a doubt, Jose Abreu is not helping. Jose Abreu has been one of just straight up the worst hitters in baseball this year. Through 36 games and the brand new contract he got from the Astros this offseason, Abreu does not have a home run. Only 6 doubles out of his 31 hits and 14 RBIs. This is a guy who used to average 30 homers, 30 doubles, and 100 RBIs a season. He looks like a shell of himself. 218 average, 265 on base, 261 slugging, and a 525 OPS puts him at a WRC plus of 46 on the year. That is the 3rd worst among qualified hitters in Major League Baseball, only ahead of Gene Segura and Oswaldo Cabrera. Abreu, like I said, just straight up has been one of the worst hitters in baseball this year. He is one of 7 qualified hitters that have not hit a home run, a list that includes Esteury Ruiz, Josh Rojas, Mauricio Dubon, Andrew Benintendi, Miles Straw, and Gene Segura. Guys you don't consider home run hitters. I don't really know what's going on with Abreu. Abreu is not hitting the ball hard. He's swinging, missing a ton. He's not getting on base. Everything that he did well in his career has just stopped this season, and if I'm an Astros fan, I'm genuinely concerned. Did Jose Abreu just get old in front of our eyes? He is 36 years old, and he is having the worst season of his career, and it's not even close. Something to keep an eye out for, but yeah, he's definitely been disappointing. Next up, going north of the border to talk about one of the most disappointing pitchers in baseball this year, ALEC MANOAH. MANOAH finished 3rd in the Cy Young voting last year, was an all-star, even got some MVP votes, and the year that he had was phenomenal. 2.24 ERA, a whip under 1, striking out a bunch of batters, not giving up any walks, but 2023 has been a completely different story for MANOAH, who has looked horrendous. So far in 8 starts this year, only 41 innings pitched, a 4.83 ERA with a whip at 1.659 and a FIP, which is fielder independent pitching, at 5.78. And that's because ALEC MANOAH has not been striking anybody out, career low strikeout rate at 16.8 and a career high walk rate at 13.1. They've been crushing balls off him. He's not getting any swings and misses. He's walking more batters. ALEC MANOAH is struggling mightily in the 2023 season. Could this be because of the pitch clock? Possibly. The larger pitchers have had difficulties adjusting to the pitch pitch clock more than others. And as we know with Manoah, he is a big dude. And honestly, this production was a little predictable based on what he did towards the end of the season last year, but I don't think anybody expected Manoah to be this bad. Luckily, the Blue Jays still are a very good team, but if they want to have any hopes of winning a World Series this year, they need ALEC Manoah to turn it around. For the fourth player in today's video, Trea Turner of the Philadelphia Phillies. Turner signing an 11-year, $300 million contract with the Phillies this offseason, expectations were extremely high. And while Trea Turner has not been one of the worst players in baseball, he's for sure not living up to that $300 million contract. But again, it still is early. 36 games, 4 homers, 6 doubles, 2 triples, and 10 RBIs for Trea Turner. Here's where the numbers really start to fall off. 261 average, which is a career low, a 302 on base, again, career low, a 405 slugging, and a 708 OPS, which puts him at a WRC plus on the year of 87. He has been a decent bit below an average hitter this year. We've also been seeing Trea Turner chase a lot more than he ever has, weirdly enough playing better defense, but swing and missing, not walking, striking out more, hitting the ball not nearly as hard as he has in the past. A little bit of a concerning start for Trea Turner. Obviously, I still think he's a good player, but to say he's not been disappointing thus far this year, you'd be lying to yourself. I think all you Philly fans agree with me, he has not been as good as you had hoped. Another player coming off a big contract this offseason, GIMENEZ of the Cleveland Guardians. Now, of course, he wasn't a free agent. We're talking about that $100 million contract extension off of what was clearly the best year of his career. Last year, GIMENEZ, we know, was one of the best players in baseball, especially value-wise. 17 homers, 26 doubles, 69 RBIs with 20 stolen bases, hitting .297 with a 371 on base, 466 slugging, and an 837 OPS. That's not the case this year. GIMENEZ was a bit of a soft contact merchant last year, and the numbers are finally catching up to him. So far in 35 games, he has 2 homers, 7 doubles, and 8 RBIs with 6 stolen bases, hitting .214 with a 288 on base, 317 slugging, and a 605 OPS. Unlike the previously mentioned Trea Turner, there hasn't really been that much that has changed in Gimenez's game. He didn't hit the ball hard last year, he got relatively lucky with a lot of his outcomes, and he is still chasing a ton. Was last year's success sustainable for Gimenez based on his skill set? Absolutely not. But did we expect him to take this big of a step back in the first month of the season? No way. I still think he's a very good player, but right now, Gimenez is not playing like it, and it's hurting the Guardians quite a bit. Whew. I mean, we could put the whole St. Louis Cardinals team on here, but man, Nolan Arenado. What happened? Nolan Arenado looks really, really bad, and I am concerned that he might not be able to get out of this. Like, I don't know. Of course, he's still playing great defense at third. That won't change, but we are seeing career lows across the board everywhere for Nolan Arenado. He's not hitting the ball as hard, and he's hitting it less often. He's whiffing a lot more, chasing a lot more, and walking a lot less. Something that is definitely concerning as Nolan Arenado is getting a little bit older, even though he's only 32 years old. And this is coming off of one of the better years of Nolan Arenado's career. He finished third in the MVP voting, had an 891 OPS in St. Louis, 30 homers, 40 doubles, 100 RBIs, and right now Arenado only has 7 extra base hits through 35 games. 3 homers, 4 doubles, 18 RBIs, 232 average with a 281 on base, 324 slugging, and a 605 OPS. I'm a huge Nolan Arenado fan. I really hope he turns it around, but the peripheral numbers are not looking good on a team that desperately needs Nolan Arenado to wake up because he has been just straight up atrocious. Arenado currently has the 13th lowest WRC plus in Major League Baseball, behind the previously mentioned Ahmed Rosario, behind Miles Straw, behind CJ Abrams. It's a bad year for Nolan thus far. Hate to double up on the Blue Jays because they're actually playing good baseball, but I had to include George Springer on this list because he has been off to one of the worst starts in baseball this year. Very disappointing. Coming off his second season in Toronto, another strong year, 25 homers, 20 doubles, 814 OPS. Springer has not done that this year. 35 games, he only has 4 homers, a double, so 5 extra base hits with 13 RBIs, hitting .209 with a 272 on base, 302 slugging, and an OPS at 574. That's good for a WRC plus of 62, which means he's a good bit below average. He's got a negative F4. He's really not doing a lot well for the Blue Jays this season. And despite him and Manoah both struggling, they're still a good team, which shows you what their possible ceiling is. I will say George Springer still is hitting the ball hard. Max Eggsville in the 98th percentile. He is not whiffing. He's not striking out. The numbers aren't actually as concerning as some of these other players, but Springer for sure is struggling to start the year, not playing good defense in the outfield. He's been disappointing. That's all this video is. I don't think George Springer's bad. He's just been disappointing thus far this year, and the numbers tell you everything you need to know. Similarly, a player who's been disappointing that I don't think is bad, Julio Rodriguez. J-Rod has been a big disappointment this year. For a variety of different reasons, I still am not giving up any hope on him. He's going to win an MVP, maybe multiple in his career. He's the best thing that's happened to Seattle in a very long time, but we have to acknowledge he's not playing that well right now. J-Rod has played in about 34 games this year. He has hit for some power, 6 homers, 6 doubles, a triple with 15 RBIs, but the slash line has not been great. 204 average, 271 on base, 387 slugging, and a 658 OPS for a WRC plus at 86. This is not by any means one of the worst players' performances analysis on today's video. It's actually one of the better ones, but we just have such high hopes for J-Rod because of what we saw last year, the talent, the skill. It's definitely disappointing to see him start the year slow, but that's probably all I think it is. It's just a slow start. Because relatively speaking, he's going to be a guy that strikes out a decent bit, doesn't really walk a ton, but still crushing baseballs. He's still hitting the ball extremely hard, still hitting it consistently hard. He's just getting a little bit unlucky right now. So Mariners fans, by no means is it time to panic, especially when you have Jared Kelenic, who's done a complete 180 and is now nasty. J-Rod's going to figure it out, and once he does, you guys are going to go on a roll. He's too good to have the numbers that he has right now. Penultimate player of the video, Chicago White Sox starting pitcher, Dylan Cease. Woof, 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 woof. What a bad year for the White Sox, and what a bad year for Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease finished second in the Cy Young voting last year, in front of a guy like ALEC MANOAH, who was also on today's video, and he's having just as bad of a year. He still is striking out batters at a relatively good rate, 26%. Not as good as Dylan Cease would like, but that's still pretty decent. He's just getting absolutely shelled. The walk rate's at 10.6%, which is not a great place when you're not striking out as many batters. So far at 8 starts this year, 40 innings pitched, Cease has a 5.58 ERA with a whip at 1.512. A FIP at 4.36 tells you he's probably getting a little bit unlucky, but that's also because the White Sox are stupid, don't play good defense, and are a bad team, a bad organization. If they invested in one computer, I bet you Dylan Cease would be even better than he was last year. But I digress. This isn't a White Sox rant. Let's talk about Dylan Cease's disappointing start to the season. Do I think Dylan Cease is completely done for the year? By no means, no. He's still getting some whiffs, he's still getting some strikeouts, like I said, and the spin rates and the pitches have looked relatively good. He's just getting hit hard, and the lack of command right now on his pitches has been hurting him. So keep an eye out for Dylan Cease. Maybe if you're in fantasy, try and buy him low right now, because I don't think he's a bad pitcher by any means, but he has had a disappointing start to the year. For the 10th and final player in today's video, one of the most disappointing players in the league has to be Carlos Correa. Wow, thank God the Mets didn't sign him, because could you imagine if they started the year as bad as they had, and they signed Carlos Correa, and he's playing as poorly as he is? Bad start to the year for Correa. Same thing, I'm not concerned by any means. I'm not worried, but it's not been great for Carlos in Minnesota. 32 games, 5 homers, 5 doubles, 15 RBIs with a 185 average, 261 on base, 363 slugging, and a 624 OPS, which gives him a WRC plus at 72 on the year. Correa, of course, has battled a few injuries starting the year as well, which is a little bit concerning, but he still is 94th percentile in max ex velo, which is nice to see, and 70th percentile in hard hit rate, along with 73rd percentile in barrel rate. So the numbers are going to come, but it's been a disappointing start for sure. Plus the injury stuff is always a little bit concerning. At the end of the day, he's just kind of gotten a little bit unlucky and needs to hit the ball in the air a little bit more. So Twins fans, I don't know if I would be concerned just yet, because nothing seems to be like flashing, oh my God, he's terrible, you're done. But he hasn't been playing well, and for a guy with injury history, it's something to keep an eye out for. If the Twins want to win the division and make a run this year, they definitely need Carlos Correa to be better. So there they are, the most disappointing players in Major League Baseball this season, in my opinion. I'd love to know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Am I being a little unfair, or are there even some players maybe that I'm not harsh enough on that should be in today's video? If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like on it. It really does help support the channel, as well as make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on any of the content coming at you. Follow me on all my social media at GiraffeNeckMarc. Links are in the description. You guys know the drill from here on out. YouTube recommends you watch this video. This is my most recent upload, so click through those if you have not yet seen them. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for another video. Bye!